Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Southern Reads podcast, the show where I talk about books and only books and everything book related. Today, we are back at it with another memoir. Actually, our next two books are going to be kind of biographies slash memoirs, and they're both by the same author. But our first one that we are going to be covering today is All You Can Do Is Pray by James Spann. So a little bit about James Spann. James Spann is actually the chief meteorologist for the ABC news station affiliate in Birmingham, Alabama. He's our chief meteorologist there, has been there for decades at this point. He of course has covered every kind of natural disaster that has hit our state, from hurricanes to winter storms and tornadoes. But one event really has stood out, and that is the April 27th, 2011 tornado outbreak known in our state as the 2011 super outbreak. This event, of course, happened in late April, was a catastrophe for our state. And this book is basically a retelling of that day through multiple backgrounds and from multiple POVs from the book. So the book is actually a retelling of the day itself. It actually will give some deep personal stories from people that have actually experienced the tornadoes that went through, as well as share some pictures and just really have a reimagining of what these people have gone through. So, of course, with everything that the book as well, you know the drill. We're going to do a kind of a little bit of a overview of the book. We're going to do a kind of a brief retelling of what the book is. And of course, we are going to start with the cover. The cover of the book is very true telling to what the story is going to be about. It features a tornado ravaged scenario. There's a town behind it that has been ravaged by a tornado. There's debris, there's destruction everywhere. And actually, in one of the pictures, there is actually a screen, which I would assume would be like a mini computer, laptop, or a little mini TV. And on it, it actually shows James Spann covering the outbreak as it is unfolding. And he actually does the very well-known tornado that hit Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and it shows a double box view of the radar of the tornado signature and as well as the tornado on camera. And the sky behind it is actually a sunny day with some clouds in it. So I have to give the cover a really good review and rating of like an A plus. It's such a true telling book cover. It shares what these tornadoes have done. Now, when it comes to retelling the book and kind of doing like a book review type, when it comes to memoirs and autobiographies, and some people have known this on the podcast too, if you remember the Lily Singh biography, these episodes tend to be very, very, very short because there's not much to talk about it because it's more of you have to kind of read it to get an overview about what the book is about. But I can give kind of a little bit of a preview about what um how it's set up. So essentially what it is, it's a retelling of April 27th. And for to people that really don't know about that day, it's a tragic day in Alabama weather history for us. We had 62 tornadoes come through and claim the lives of 252 people, ranged from toddlers to seniors. It was just a really devastating day for our state, and words can't really put into um effect of how catastrophic it was. This book does a really good job. So it starts out with more of the history from James Spann. He gives a little bit more about the days leading up to the event, kind of sharing a little bit about what happened about a week and a half prior to that day, and just kind of gives more of a retelling from his standpoint about what was going on. Then, as the book kind of proceeds, there are pictures throughout this book as well. It kind of takes pictures from the disaster field, takes pictures from actually the weather coverage itself. and it does kind of describe every tornado. But what's really unique about this book is that this is more of a you hear from the people, you hear from the community itself. While this book could have all been through James Spann, he actually picked several stories that were very impactful and told them in this book, interviewed them, and basically had their stories shared on here. There's not really a story on here that I can really pinpoint and like pick out as like the top best of the best because every story that was mentioned in here was very impactful. Some of the pictures in here are very graphic and whatnot. So there's no, when it comes to kind of the contents and triggers from the book, there really isn't any content warnings that I would really say, except there are some pretty graphic images in here, and it's not anything graphic like you see body parts or you see any kind of blood or anything. It's just kind of tornado damage and kind of destroyed structures and kind of just really very captivating images in here. So if you get triggered by disaster photos, I would say that, but there's really no bad language in this book at all. There's no really graphic nature of injuries. It just there's some scary moments in here through the pages. You kind of feel a little tense. So if you get real tense and you don't like a lot of intenseness in here, I would just caution you to read it. But other than that, this is a very, very well put together book. I really enjoyed reading it. Fun story. He actually came to a book signing for his book and his next book, which we will also cover in the next episode. I'm not going to say the name quite yet. I will at the end of the episode. So if you want, and of course, if you want to read any of these books, I highly suggest you do, because these are really two really good books. So yeah, there's not really much to say about this book. Of course, with it being like a autobiography or kind of a retelling biography, there's not really much to say. There's so many good stories in here, and I know that there's like countless other stories. If you've never have seen the coverage videos for this, I highly suggest you go on YouTube and just search up April 27th, 2011 tornado coverage. There's hundreds of videos on there that show the full coverage of it. Um, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you watch it. It's very truth telling and just I can't say enough, really, really. And one of the things that I really love about this book is the last chapter of this book, titled 252 Souls. And what this chapter is essentially about, it's all the names of the people that lost their lives on that day. I think that's such a perfect way to end such a really devastating book, is to honor those that we lost that day. So, all in all, great book. Really, really great. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's not very long either. It's only 218 pages, and the pages are fairly short. Where there's pictures of or pages that have pictures on it, there's usually just a picture and maybe like a little bit of a caption on there that takes less than a few seconds to read. So it's a very quick read. Highly suggest that you go out and purchase it as well. Um, but yeah, that's all you can do is pray by James Spann. Very truth telling book. Really loved it. If you've read this book, I would really love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this book as well. Feel free to reach out to me on the socials if you would like to keep up to date about what I have going on. You are more than welcome to follow me on the socials. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at southern.reads. There you'll find book reviews and you'll kind of see surveys out. There was no survey for this book as well, since it was kind of more of a, it was in the past. I'm trying not to do surveys for books I've done in the past, but for books that I'm currently reading onward. So there's no surveys for these. I wish there was, but there isn't. Feel free to just go to that Instagram and TikTok. That's where I'll mainly post the surveys. And you can also reach out to me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcast. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. It's just my first and last name, Noah May, on there. I do have a Goodreads, a Storygraph, a Fable, and Margins. Now, it's hard to say, like, tell you a pinpoint. So if you go into the description box or the show notes, I'll put a direct link to my profiles for all four of those things. Feel free to follow me on any of those platforms. There, you'll find what books I'm reading about, what books I have covered, what's on my TBR list. I mean, all that information will be on there, so you can kind of get a little sneak peek at what some upcoming episodes will be like. But I appreciate you all so much for listening. Feel free to just go to the website, noahspodcast.com, to learn more about the show, as well as to find links to all my socials and where you can find the links to the podcast. And again, the podcast is available on all streaming platforms. Feel free to follow or subscribe so you get notified of when new episodes like this come out. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Oh, and by the way, one last thing. I recently had my podcast. I recently put Southern Reads on Podmatch. So this podcast is now available on there. So if there's an author on there that you're listening and you are interested in wanting to maybe come on and would like to talk about books, if you have a book coming out that you would like to talk about and share, feel free to send me a message on Podmatch. I'll put a link in the description box as well for that as well. So feel free to reach out to me on there. And again, on the socials, any author, feel free to reach out if you would like to be featured on here. I'd love to have you on. But other than that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Be safe, and I will see you all in the next episode of Southern Reads.